We had a great day of joy earlier today for our parish when Sean Mulcair, a son of the parish, and Ryan Sustachek, who's been assigned to us as a seminarian, were both ordained as deacons earlier today at the Basilica. So it's been a bit of a busy day for me, waking up, going downtown to the Basilica, watching their ordination. Then I had a grad party to go to, and then I had to get back here and hear confessions, and now I am here at Mass. But it's been a full day, but it's certainly been a very joyful day. And it reminds me of my own ordination to the diaconate 4 years ago on Thursday, also on Mother's Day weekend, and just the great joy that that brought. And it reminds me of this, our second reading, when we hear about this, to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope, always be ready to give an explanation. And certainly we look at these men who are ordained as deacons, 11 of them, which is quite a large number of ordinations, and there's another 2 for the diocese who will be ordained in Rome in the fall, so there will be 13 deacons ordained next year. And any one of them, or 13 priests ordained next year, and any one of them could tell you their vocation story, their reason for hope that they have, that they felt called to become ordained as deacons, as servants of the word, those ordained to be images of Christ the servant. Any one of them could tell their vocation story just like I could. One of the very last things that we did as well in our RCIA group, a couple weeks after the Easter Vigil, we held on to him for a few more weeks before we sent him out into the wild, those who became Catholic at Easter. We said, okay, now that you're Catholic, what are you going to tell someone when they ask you, so why did you become Catholic? Right, you got to have that elevator pitch, both an elevator pitch, a short version, but then also a little bit longer version to go into more in depth. Why did you become a Catholic? What drew you to this? And for those of us who were born as Catholics, we might not be able to answer that as readily. Well, I became Catholic when I was, a month old. My parents brought me to the church and baptized me, right? That's not a very good story. But nonetheless, each of us should have a story of why we are Catholic. Not so much just, well, it's because my parents brought me here and baptized me, but why do you remain? Why do you come here every Sunday to receive the Eucharist? What is that reason for your hope? Why do you profess Jesus Christ? And beyond the answer just even of, because I was baptized and grew up that way, or even beyond the answer of, because I believe it to be true, it makes sense. You look at this reason and that reason, and it just logically follows Christianity seems to be the right religion. Well, that's not necessarily a very good answer either, right? Because imagine those of you who are married, if someone asked, well, why did you marry your spouse? And you were like, well, there was this and this, and it just seemed like logically the right thing to do. That's not very romantic, right? You want to talk about why you fell in love with them. You want to tell there's an amazing person who I want to spend time with. All of those things. You aren't going to be like, well, this reason, that. No, you're going to tell it with liveliness. You're going to tell it with joy. That's what we want to do when we share our faith with one another. We don't want just to say, well, according to Thomas Aquinas, the God must exist because of these reasons, and Jesus is God because of this. That's not going to bring anyone to the church. Well, maybe a couple people, right? But not many. What people look for isn't just necessarily logical arguments, but people are also looking for your lived experience, the lived reason for your hope. And that's what St. Peter exhorts us today. Be always ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you a reason for your hope, a reason for your joy. To be able to say, I have a lived relationship with Jesus Christ that gives me hope, that gives me joy in the midst of everything that goes on in our world. That's why I come to Mass. That's why it's my grounding, because I have that lived relationship with Jesus Christ. Sometimes it can be hard to put those things into words. Not all of us are people who very easily, it comes to us to be able to share like that. But this is what St. Peter exhorts us today. That we should be able to, even if we can't go on, a half an hour exhortation like maybe Bishop Fulton Sheen or Bishop Robert Barron or Father Mike Schmitz could about it. We ought to be able to give a little elevator speech. We ought to be able to say, this is why I know and love Jesus Christ. We ought to be able to spread that, to show that to the world. And maybe you're at a point where it's like, well, I'm here. I know it's the right thing to do to come to Mass on Sundays. I don't know if I necessarily have this lived relationship with Jesus Christ that I can talk about in this way. To that I say, that's just fine. because we're all on a journey. We're all out walking there. And maybe there's some of us who it can be just a little hard to talk about those things just because that's just not who we are, right? Just for everyone here, just to be able to dive into that relationship with God is so important. To spend those times of prayer with God where you open up your heart to him, where as the priest is unfolding the cloth on the altar, you're unfolding your heart to him here in prayer. And indeed, every day, every night, unfolding your heart to him, telling him what's going on, allowing him to whisper in your heart, to hear those words of hope and joy, that you might be able to give that explanation for what you have. Brothers and sisters, we here in Forest Lake, we do a very good job here at all the Bible studies and many other things that we have going on. We're very good for the people who are here. But I walk out, and statistically, I should recognize 25% of people in this city. Statistically, 25% of people are Catholic, roughly, in the Midwest. There are not 25% of people who attend Mass here at Forest Lake on the weekends. There are many Catholics out there who aren't coming to Mass. There are many of those who grew up and fell away, and indeed, not even considering those who we would love to bring into the fold of the Catholic Church. We might have a solid foundation here to begin with, but there is so much more work to do. And that work starts with being able to share that testimony of our hope, to be able to say, this is why I do the thing that goes against the culture, and I make sure to prioritize going to Mass on the weekends. This is why I make sure to stop by our adoration chapel during the week, whatever those pious prayer practices you have are. This is why I do it. This is the reason for my hope. Be able to give that experience to someone else, to invite them to come with. Can you imagine if every person here invited one other person to come to Mass with you in the next year? Imagine if Mother's Day 1 year from now, everyone here brought one person to Mass. We'd be twice as full. We'd be packed. We'd be packed. And we still wouldn't even be hitting that 25% of the population of Forest Lake. Father Bodine doesn't like building projects, but I think we should give him another one. I think that by this time next year, we should have to build a new church because of how many people are coming here to St. Peter's. Let's give him another building project. Be always ready to give an explanation, to give a reason for your hope. Dive into that relationship with Jesus Christ that was initiated through baptism, that's strengthened through confirmation and reception of the Eucharist. Be able to explain that lived relationship that you have with him by living out that relationship, by being able to share that with others so that we can go forth and bring others into this family, into this relationship with Christ that we have as well. There are a number of initiatives going on in the diocese to help with this. You may have heard of the Archdiocesan Synod that we had, this large gathering last summer on Pentecost, to bring together representatives from every parish to talk about priorities in the diocese. And then in the fall, or in the winter, I guess, on Christ the King Sunday, Archbishop Hebda issued a pastoral letter saying these are these priorities that we're going to have going forward for the next 5 years for evangelizing, for enlivening our parishes, for bringing people into relationship with Jesus Christ. And so you'll see some of those efforts starting to come to fruition over the course of the summer into the fall over the next few years. As part of that, each parish has chosen 12 different members of what's called the Synod Evangelization Team to be kind of the movers and shakers, the inviters, to go out and to invite 12 more. And then they go out and invite 12 more, and they go out and invite 12 more, and we gradually grow through that. And so as part of that, those 12 will be being commissioned at Masses this weekend. I believe we have 2 of the 12 here at our Mass here tonight. So after the Creed, we'll have a short commissioning for those 2 longtime members of the parish who will have this special duty of going out, reaching out to those in the community here and out abroad to help invite people into that relationship, to show that explanation for hope. I'll be reading off the names of those 12, so if you have any ideas, if you'd like to get involved with helping to spread that explanation of hope, you contact these 12 people. They know what they're in for. So you can go up to any of them, including the 2 who you see here at Mass today. Be sure to mob them after Mass, and you can tell them, I want to be involved, or you can also ask them, put them on the spot. What's your reason for hope? Give me the explanation. I want to know the reason for your hope. And so, brothers and sisters, as we are in this new evangelistic age where so many have fallen away from that relationship with Christ, when so many do not know God, always be prepared to give that explanation of the reason for your hope, so that we can bring more into that relationship with Christ, which we so love, so that we can bring a new building project here for Father Bodine to fulfill, so that we can fulfill the kingdom of God and what he has asked of us.